you miss the rapture. Remember today, try not to panic. Realize you missed the rapture, and you are now in 7 years of tribulation. Get a Bible and pray. Do your best to find some survival equipment. Have a survival plan. You'll need water. It will all be contaminated. You'll need food. There won't be any. And without the mark, you won't be able to buy any. Try to find shelter in a cave if you have to. Make no alliance with the Antichrist nor the false prophet. Do not take the mark of the beast.
This has been one of the best grifts in the 20th since the 20th century that I've ever seen in my life. It is the best one, absolutely bar none. You see, John Nelson Darby in around 1909 started this doctrine of the rapture, which was taken from the Gospels and the book of Revelation and just turned into the greatest fear grift that has ever happened in Christianity to get people to come up under the power of the church since the church had been created. I got a couple of questions for my Protestant Christians out there, because the rapture is not something that is believed in Orthodox Christianity. It's not something that is believed in Catholic Christianity. As a matter of fact, if you go throughout, which is funny, Scotland, where this doctrine was first initiated, if you go throughout Europe, you go throughout many other places in the Mediterranean, you will not find any doctrine of the rapture. Most Christians in those areas don't believe in a rapture. But when John Nelson Darby started this preaching, it became something that people in the Americas flowed towards. It is something that people in Africa flowed towards. People in other countries that were colonized automatically flowed towards, because this is a great grift when you're talking to people who have been disenfranchised, people who are feel like they have been suffering under Christendom, but also suffering under whatever government that they have been born into, because it promises them that they're going to miss the last 3.5 years of the Antichrist rule, that they're going to miss all the waters turning into blood. They're going to miss the asteroid wormwood striking the earth and causing famines all over the planet. They're going to miss, a third of the population being murdered by the 4 angels at the side of the Euphrates River. They're going to miss the Antichrist being wounded and forcing people to worship him, and the one world government and the one world currency and the one world religion. They're going to miss all of those things because of their belief while they were suffering. Isn't it interesting that throughout the first almost 2,000 years of Christianity, that no one else was able to figure out that there's going to be this rapture? That he took scriptures that talked about how they're going to meet Jesus in the sky, which was a metaphor for how when a person of importance is coming to a city, it was respectful, it was ritualistic that the leaders of that city, the leaders of that town would go out beyond the walls of the city, meet this person, and then escort them back into the city, showing that they are welcomed and they are respected into the city. That is where the idea of meeting this Jesus in the sky and then coming back down to earth with him comes into play. And most people don't realize that it also says that they come back to earth. They come back down with this Jesus. You have a similar teaching in Islam where Muhammad comes down from the sky, and then there's a ladder that he needs at the Temple Mount in order for him to scale down to the ground. That this teaching has nothing to do with people being raptured up into heaven and missing out on the tribulations. and that they will have to endure this mark of the beast. And Revelation wasn't written for the people of today. When John supposedly wrote those letters, they went out to the 7 churches. Those letters were sent to the 7 churches as something to represent, this is what we expect to happen right now. That those who are witnesses or had witnessed Jesus' torment and his return back to heaven, that those people of that generation will see this coming of the Lord in the sky, that they will witness and be a part of the tribulation, that 2 will be in the field, 1 will be taken and 1 will be left behind, that they expected Rome to be the one to come and take half the population, that Rome was the one that was going to incorporate the mark of the beast, that Rome was going to form the one world religion, that Rome was going to form the one world currency and the one world government. Their expectation was that it would happen in their lifetime, because the Bible has Jesus saying that there are those among us today, among you today, who will not taste death before he returns. Almost 2,000 years, well, over 2,000 years has went by, and there is no return. So John Nelson Darby in the early 1900s decided that, hey, this was something more spiritual and ethereal, something that is going to happen at any time. And out of that type of teachings, you started getting your teachings from the Seventh-day Adventists. You started getting your teachings from Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons and all these other cult versions of the Christian cult, formulated their teachings with the use of this doctrine. And boy, oh boy, did the oppressed people in every country eat it up. They ate it up. It was the best dinner they could have ever thought of having. That throughout all their suffering, it will not be in vain. Throughout all the oppression, that they will be the ones that are first in heaven, meeting Jesus in the sky, the anointed ones, the 144,000, the ones that are sealed by this God. It played perfectly into their psyche, because they were feeling oppressed by their government, oppressed by the rich and powerful, by the corporations. And so they ate it up. Especially growing up Baptist, this was a huge teaching. I would say that it was a bigger teaching about the rapture than it was about being baptized, because it made people feel better about the misery that they were living in. When if they actually read some other aspects of the Bible or read outside their Bible, they will realize that you don't have to wait for a heaven. You don't have to wait to be free. You don't have to wait to be able to feed your family. You don't have to wait to be able to walk the streets safely. That all those things are within your hands. All those things you are capable of achieving in your lifetime. But this just took this mind of oppressed people and sunk it to a new low. So I encourage everyone to start studying the Hermetic, start studying the Tao, start understanding how to elevate your consciousness, elevate your actions, your vibrations, so that you can achieve and manifest your heaven now. That you don't have to suffer under this psychosis of you are worthless, and that the only salvation that you can have is through some imaginary deity that never existed or has been legendized into a being that is tantamount to Hercules. That it is all within you, and the power is within you. It starts here. It starts in your mind. And don't let this rapture belief hold you down and hold you back from being able to be the greatest version of yourself. So always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.